Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. Fundamental Friday. Although if you're getting this notification right now, it is Saturday, but we couldn't get the screens to work, and I'm fine with 1080p, 720p blurry pictures, especially with tiny little numbers on there. We figured it was worth the extra day. So Mike will again lead these off. This is a new segment we're doing, Fundamental Friday, and we're going to jump in. Today we're talking about AMD. Like I said, let us know in the comments down below, and as they come in, we break these down. And because it's fundamentals, right? We do it on Tesla, right? Where we talked about Tesla. Now, Mike's opinion, my opinion, it doesn't actually matter because everything we go over, facts. These are numbers. These are on the clipboard. Doesn't matter whether you love, hate the person or not. This is always all about just how can you use that information to make money. So we're going to break it down, kind of go through everything as far as AMD, how it's looking. So when we jump into the price, at the time of us doing this, now these will be released out on our website soon. But I think it says AMD's. Yes, it says AMD market hours 101.37. Don't get too caught up in that because that's just our live information at the top. Everything else we're going to break down in between. Again, Mike, you'll be taking it over. This is Mike, by the way. I know it's kind of just jumped. I feel like there's just a lot to go in, but I think we'll get the groove of things.
Yeah.
But let me let's jump in. We'll talk about NVIDIA here in a second. All right, AMD coming in hot. First and foremost, before we get into anything, you like the company or not? 100% opinion on that one.
I like it.
Yeah,
yeah,
I do.
I like others better, but I still like this company.
Yeah, listen. Again, these are all clipboards. We can't judge Mike for his opinions. He also doesn't have a lot of meta. You know, we've talked about this. We're working on it. Baby steps. All right, Mike. So why don't you to guide us through here, guide us through these numbers. First of all, what is each column? What is it? Why are we looking at it? Why is that relevant to anything we're doing?
Yeah, sure. So the very top, which is just the basic information, gives you what the company is, some of its current that's its current data, right? Just and we get that data from live feeds. So your normal stuff, what sectors in, what industry, what are the previous close, open, blah, 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 right? Those are all just facts or data that gets streamed in there. So that's just kind of an overview. The second one, gross revenue. This is probably the most important metric that I look at, and I think you would probably agree. Gross revenue needs to be increasing each year.
Right. And
the way I look at it, if a company is not growing faster than inflation, if it's not growing faster than an ETF like SPY or QQQ, I don't even want to bother investing in it because I'd rather just put my money in SPY or QQQ.
Right. Yeah, because it always comes down to it. I know everyone talks about, SPY. Can you beat the SPY? First of all, of course. But second of all, why would you do all that work if you could just buy SPY, and that's it?
Yeah. Yeah. So gross revenue, highly important to us. What I want to see is that gross revenue number, that first column, growing each year. And the year over year change is important too, right? You want to make sure that that's on an uptrend each year, if possible. I know bigger companies, it's harder to grow, but you still want to see growth, year over year change. And then just the power of this tool is that it just spells everything out for you. So you can take those numbers. We project a growth rate. We let you know if it's beating SPY or QQQ. So we make it very simple to read right there.
Yeah. And then you give a score at that on the. You don't give it a score, but
yeah. And so everything is calculated out and it gives a score. And that one has like a max of 50. So each one of these sections have their own score, and they're all based on different categories, all done in the background. So it makes it real simple to compare one stock to another.
Yeah. And I know these are red. Now this is the year over year change. So it's not like they're not down,
Right.
I guess, yeah. Well, percentage wise, yeah. Because I would say here's the actual revenue for those of you guys that are the visual learners. We got the actual numbers, then we have the graph over here,
Right.
and then the percentage.
Yeah. And sometimes numbers don't tell you everything, so the graphs make it easy to kind of see. Mm-hmm. And we've made that linear line in there to kind of show you, okay, is it really growing? Like what exactly is happening? So
yeah,
makes it visual for easy, makes it visual and easy to understand.
Yeah, and I want to add, this is probably one of the bigger tributes to me being a successful trader. Like, and now I only trade good companies. It's why if you come on my channel, you call out some 17-cent stock. I'm like, what are you doing? Why? It's priced that way for a reason. For me, we'll get into wheel strategy, selling options, all that. This is almost like my report card. It needs to pass this to even make it to the conversation table. Right. If we're not even looking at this, then why are we talking about it? You're looking at liquidity drying up, things just evaporating, problems they can't handle,
Right.
So yeah, this is a quick one for me. When I'm looking at it is same with Tesla. What's the money situation? And maybe we are losing money, but are we losing less and less? Is that growth actually still there?
Yep. So second area, gross profit, gross margin. This is basically how much money is left over after the cost of goods. So let's just take your Ford, for example. Mm-hmm. You've got all the materials that come in to make a car. This is important to understand if what you're selling is actually making a profit. So if your materials to build a car is costing more than the actual car that you're bringing in from selling it, that's a problem.
Yeah. So the EV sector, or while we're talking about it, tariffs. And the one thing, man, somebody else broke it down, and it made it very clear, because people think, 25% tariff. They're taking the end number and they're tacking on 25%. And so they specifically were talking about I don't know if it was a Ford or a Chevy. One of them built in Detroit. The metal comes in. We send it to Canada first, tariff 1, right? They turn it into a rod. And then they send it down to, I don't know if it's back here or then to Mexico or just straight to Mexico. But I want to say here first, then to Mexico. That's where it gets the piston, then back into the United States, to where it finally gets assembled into the motor in Detroit. And at that point, I'm like, we are just tacking on tariffs, just left, right, front, and center. Like that little troll under the bridge is fat and happy. He's got some fat pockets.
Yeah.
So like this is when you're looking at tariffs, this will be the column that I think changes.
Yeah.
When it comes to manufacturing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like that's the cost of goods. Mm-hmm. Next one we got coming up, net income margin. That's basically the accounting version of this. It adds some other stuff like cost of rent and salaries and other stuff. So net income is more of net income and operating are very close together.
Which we have both on the screen here, right below it.
Yeah, so those go hand in hand. Just more expenses for the company, but basically you want to see that those are green as well.
Yeah, or headed in the right path.
Yeah, exactly. Like they are here on AMD.
Yeah, how do you feel if it's flat? I know that's usually what someone will ask next. What if it's not growing but not getting worse?
So let's take these for example. You can see where the things were growing really, really well, and then now things have kind of tapered off.
That 2021.
This last year, they seem to be growing again.
Yeah.
So that is actually encouraging. So that's why when you look at these, it's good to look at the overall picture, because you want to see, is it just a down year or is it a trend?
Yeah. And
right now, the trend, I believe, if I'm looking at this correctly, is positive, right? So it may not be good as that was that 2021. Yeah,
when everyone had free money.
But that's just a spike, right? Yeah. So like if you take that out, I think it's on a good path. So
yeah, well, I mean, you take the good with the bad. Forever, you got the red ones in there, you got the green ones, or sub,
But again, all these have a score, and the score is there for a reason. It's to evaluate the financial health of the company at basically it's a snapshot. It's a point in time of where this company is right now.
Yeah, and this, I'll say this one for me, that matters. Someone said something to me a long time ago. It says it's not about how much you spend; it's about how much you make. It's not that this one takes a back seat. What I worry about is, if we're spending a lot, that's fine as long as we're growing a lot. What happens when we keep spending but not growing? So when I'm looking at these, I'm typically comparing it to the other one, thinking like, hey, what's it look like if we don't have a 2021 year? If we drop it back down, are we just giving ourselves enough rope to get us in trouble? It doesn't take long. You can pretty much tell that story right there, like on what's going on.
Right. Probably the second most important one is free cash flow. Mm-hmm. Think of this as what's in your wallet at the end of the month after you pay all your bills.
Yeah.
That's really what you have. If you get rid of all the accounting craziness, because, accounting rules are different. This is a true measure of how much money you have at the end of the month. So, or in this case, at the end of the year.
We should put a picture of Dave Ramsey if it meets a certain score, because they're living below their means. So it gets the Dave Ramsey approval.
Yeah. So our number one is gross revenue. That's got to be growing, and they have to have free cash flow at the end of in this case, the end of the year or quarter or however you want to look at it, because that's how much money they'll have to be able to reinvest and do R&D and do all the stuff that they want to do to actually continue that growth that we're looking for. Yeah,
much like with NVIDIA, this is where they're getting their money to buy other things.
Exactly. Yeah, and not just invest in like they make investments and stuff like that, which also help them grow.
Yeah, no one likes money just sitting there.
Yeah, so those are probably the two most important ones. The top one and this free cash flow.
Palantir had a whole bunch of money just sitting there for the longest time.
Yeah.
That drove me crazy. I'm putting us over here on the left side for this last little bit so our faces are out of the way, because we got the other health, financial health factors. We got the expected move income. So we'll break these down, and then kind of fair market value. Now, again, this is just kind of using all this data to pull things in. Yep. And the one thing I wanted to talk about is I like this. I think all of my numbers have been different, but I like this as a baseline, because this is so data driven. Like, that's what it is for the current what we got, and that's it. Like if we were to pull up Tesla, someone's going to say Optimus is worth this much. Driving taxis is worth this much. It's supposed to be here. Like stuff like that isn't factored in because it hasn't made it to the book. If it's still in fairy tale land, it's not there. So this really brings it down to the brass tacks of what we have right now, what we can justify. This is what it is, So I do like that. So if you ever see one of these numbers and Mike's going over it, and I'm not here because you got to disclaimer this stuff on YouTube so much, because I'm going to be honest, a lot of people have the memory of a goldfish, especially in the financial world. But yeah, if all of a sudden you think AMD's a $600 stock because they're, their cousin is the CEO of NVIDIA and they're going to partner up one day. They're going to collab. They're going to just merge and make one giant super company, and it's going to be under AMD's name. Whatever, the fairy tale told you. It might be completely different, but it's not on here for that very reason.
Yeah, this is exactly right. This takes all the speculation out of the equation. This is 100% data. Again, it's a financial snapshot at a point in time, which gives you the financial health. It has nothing to do with any of the speculation or rumors or what they might do or gonna do or what plants they're building or what bills being passed or who knows, right? Like,
yeah. And one more thing, while we break all these down, this is why I really almost steered away from doing just talking about financials. Like, this is why the channel went more a trading, because while I do have investments, obviously my investment account is much bigger than my trading account. This just doesn't change. Scrolling back up here to the top, we're going to break down last. This 101 means absolutely jack. If we're talking about fundamentals right now, that's going to change up, down every day, every hour. We could, every time we go online, this will be changing if market hours were open.
Right.
So just jumping into financials, things just don't fundamentally change. every day, every hour. You're waiting for every quarter update. You're gonna take a peek, and again, you're gonna pull up this snapshot real quick and say, all right, what are we doing? We got a green number, we got a red number. If it's red, why? Hey, it wasn't really that green. What's up? But that's how often you should be checking in on these. So I imagine what I think we'll end up doing is getting 52 stocks, and it'll probably just be January 1, we do this stock. Then the next week 2, we're gonna hit this one again, kind of double day, until something actually breaks. Fundamentally.
Yeah.
What's changed? Except for what's coming up. Why don't you? Because it's that middle one. Why don't you go over what the health factors and all that are?
So these last three, health factors is still more about the fundamentals, right? It's how much debt they have. So assets versus liabilities. You always want to see more assets than liabilities. How much cash and cash equivalents do they have versus actual debt? Because debt is part of liabilities, but it's a separate thing, right? It's like that's actually like what you owe the bank,
right?
So you want to see more assets and more cash and cash equivalents than you see liabilities or debt. So in this case, you're sitting pretty good. Operating expenses, you want to see operating expenses at a low percentage versus what the revenue is. So that's why this one has such a great score, because their operating expenses are just phenomenal.
Yeah. So this one actually scores a 20.5 out of 25.
Yeah. And then the next two items, not financial data. This expected income. If you are a wheel strategy person, one of the hardest things to do is trying to figure out what stock you want to run the wheel on.
Yeah, run the risk of running the wheel on too. If we were to really word it that way.
Yeah. What I've done is taken the last year's data and figured out what the ROI is based on doing weeklies at a 0.2 delta. So that comes up if you're selling puts all the time, like in this case, it's 24 point something. I can't really read that. And then if you actually own the shares, you can expect to earn 17% on your shares every year.
Yeah. Selling, selling the 20 calls every week, selling the 20 puts, with or without assignment. That's the ebb and flow. We have videos explaining what the wheel strategy is.
Right.
But yeah. So does that beat the S&P?
Yes.
Yeah. All day.
Yeah, and that's what I tried to do with this, right? I make it real simple, yes or no on a lot of questions. And we didn't cover all that, but if you when you pull a one pager, there's a lot of yes and no in there, and it makes it real simple for someone who's new to just go, okay, I understand. Yes, this is good. No, this is bad.
Yeah, exactly. I talk about just order of importance. Let's just weigh things out. We got more yeses than nos. Okay,
Yeah.
We move on to the next step, right? We're going to hit each fork in the road, and I'll investigate the no's. No, all right, not that big of a deal. Here's another no, not that big of a deal. Nothing I'm too concerned with.
Yeah. If you get 10 no's in a row, probably not a great stock to look at.
Yeah, at that point, you're probably just selling yourself the position.
Yeah.
And we're not going to convince you otherwise. So have at it, full send.
Yeah, exactly. And then the last area, the fair market value. This takes basically all the data. It comes up with multiple intrinsic values plus the DCF valuation, which is the discounted cash flow. And we basically create that using the data. It comes up with multiple prices, and then we just take the average. That way, we've come up with what we're saying is a fair market value based on the data. Not speculation. This is what the data is telling us. So, and in this case, it's green because it's saying the fair market value is actually higher than what the current stock price is. Yeah,
and I like this one. I'm glad this one got called out in the comments because this is the bigger position in my account. That's the growth count that I post every play in, and we are selling calls on this, and this is why. And I, for some reason, I just know someone's coming in the comments to say this because the S&P like the last couple of years grew 30%. So when we say, does this make more than the S&P? Selling calls 17%, selling puts 24%, and we're saying yes. That's an average, right? Because
Yeah, and
there hasn't been a decade where it hasn't averaged out to 10%.
No, and I chose a year, so it gives us 52 weeks, right? I didn't want to go past that because after a year, it's just going to get skewed. But I also wanted to make sure that I got enough data because there's earnings 4 times a year, which would really skew that. If I only did it for a quarter, you may end up with a 70% return, and that's not realistic, right? So yeah, you want to give us enough data to really go, okay, for the year, this is what you can average, you can expect. And I just go back 52 weeks, and it's just a running total.
Yeah, I like it. Okay, so now we know what I'm doing. If you're part of my community, then you've been following me for a while, you know what I'm doing with AMD. But I want to end every one of these Fundamental Friday videos off, whether it's both of us, whether it's just me, just you. What are you doing with this? Do you like AMD enough to do anything? Are you doing anything with AMD right now? Are you going to? What's the? This is 100% not financial advice. This is just what are you doing?
So, kind of thing. After having looked through the data, I am actually going to pass up on AMD.
Okay.
If you bring up NVIDIA, you'll see why.
Okay. All right. So, what are we scrolling to? We got all the yeses.
Yeah. This is just green. It's got a higher expected income. Fair market value is good.
Premium's definitely a lot there.
Yeah,
a lot more there. But I mean, so this is $117, and we got fair market value at $148.
Yeah.
So now we're talking a $30 difference.
Yeah. For me, well, and I guess this is good depending on how you're looking at this sheet, right? I am looking at it for right now income.
Yeah. I will say it. AMD, I think, is a slower move.
Yeah.
Because I like this move right here. But for those of you guys that have been following, then you already know what happened. I already had NVIDIA.
Yeah.
And NVIDIA was just roaring. And then once it kind of got to that top, 130, 140, whatever it was, I ended up selling NVIDIA. So we bought NVIDIA, made all the money on it, sold calls, everything, locked it all in, and then started working on AMD. But I very much, I don't want to come on here and say AMD is better than NVIDIA. I just personally thought NVIDIA would cool off. And so I would get that appreciation on AMD, and collect money along the way.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of the power of these one pagers, right?
Right.
Is you can look at it in multiple different ways. You can look at it as an investment, as an income play, or maybe even as a swing trade. Like if AMD is down and has more potential upside based on the fair market value, you may go with AMD for the short term as a swing trade, but also invest in NVIDIA or swing NVIDIA or wheel NVIDIA. So, and then being able to compare all these one pagers, I think that's where the power of these come in. And so that's why I really like these a lot. Yeah.
And again, because if I know I'm treading the waters of, or that fine line between investing and trading, I'm just going to do it on both channels. I always tried to avoid it, but I'm just going to have to. But yeah, so AMD down, I kind of thought we would catch that turnaround. This is the technical side of things. Like I said in the beginning, that sheet that just has all the yeses, that's what brings it into the conversation of, should I pull this up next and even entertain the idea? Because if you show me a bunch of crap that just says no, and the question is, should I wheel it? Well, I'm probably going to scroll to the bottom and just say, it says no right there. Why are you even asking me? But you're still asking me, like, okay, now let's go in here and I can show you probably why that's going to be a bad idea.
Yeah.
But I like that you like NVIDIA better. But yeah, just looking at the same data, there is still varying opinions, which is why I like that we did Tesla first, because our opinion is very different on Tesla, but again, there's nothing we can argue on the data side.
Right. So, yeah, and that's 100% data, has zero opinion. Even the fair market value is data driven. It's not me just plugging in random numbers.
Yeah. That's what annoys me is I don't like bringing up other YouTubers. I'm not going to name anybody, but they love to just have their own numbers.
Yeah.
They're like, I project Tesla's going to do 10 million cars a year. I'm like,
yeah,
that's really cool and all. Where'd you get that? Yeah, that's awesome. tell me how you got to that 10 million. You're like, well, it's obviously going to do 1 million this year, 4 million next year, and then 10 million the next.
Yeah. How many thumbnails have you seen NVIDIA 1500 next year or whatever, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And they love to come on here and say, like, I'm going to discount it 2%. This much. And then everyone in the world is going to use them, including AMD and Intel. You're like, oh, okay. This guy is high.
Yeah.
I've come to the conclusion he is under some kind of substance or has no idea what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm the data guy. I like data. Doesn't mean I don't look at the speculation side of stuff, but
right. Well, you need to have that foundation first.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's a story. It's a tool in building your story.
Yeah. But like I said, everything, foundation is just the best word. What's the ground? Where are we starting from?
Right.
You know, because you can talk about a company that how they're going to make money, but if they're not making anything right now, that's a lot of ground to cover. Like it's a lot easier. The rich do get richer. It's a lot easier to make more money for you than it is to dig yourself out of something.
Absolutely.
Everybody, like I will say, Elon said this a lot. Everyone can build a prototype, but not everyone can mass produce something. Everybody's got these fantastic ideas, but that's cool if we're at a bar and we're drawing on a napkin. Give me the actual steps. Give me the business plan. Give me the reality of it.
Yeah.
So I love it. These are probably never going to be this long. The idea of these videos, 8 to 10 minutes. Here's the numbers. Here's why those numbers ring a bell in my area. But I figured everyone was going to want an AMD one because I'm in it, and I'm a little upset because I told everybody I'm buying NVIDIA at 95, not 96. I guess I did say not 9501. I'm buying not NVIDIA, AMD. So I'm buying AMD at 95. And I noticed it did that this week. It didn't get all the way down. It didn't get all the way down to 95. But to be honest, I would have spent the extra 12 cents. I would have been okay with that. It was a pre-market. That's why I missed it.
Yeah.
Went down to 95.32. Come on. Yeah, went to 96. That's me. I'm selling 95 puts on AMD. Growth count, I'm buying more at 95. Again, not 96, not 95.10, not 95.05. 95. You'll get the alert.
That's right.
All right. I'm going to wrap this one up. You got anything more to add to it?
So I think the next one, I remember in the last comments, I think it might have been Pepsi or J&J will be next.
Okay.
So if you do want to see a one pager, throw that in the comments. If you want to just request one of these ad hoc, join the group. Level 2 and 3 can request these at any time.
Yeah. So, and that's always the top pinned comment down below. Whether I tell you guys about it or not, I'm trying to get better. It's the YouTube thing. But yeah, that is our community. So Mike goes live Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I go live, during the week. Check it out, I guess. And that's all the place. You'll see literally everything we're doing.
Yep.
Awesome. I'm glad you remembered that because
we have a lot of people that request these, and I pretty much dump these out all the time.
Yeah. But for the YouTube world,
the YouTube world, they're getting one a week, and it'll be first come, first serve.
Exactly. So post in the comment. More engagement, the better.
Yep.
Anyway, yeah. Just do that for now. I said we do have giveaways coming, but just for now, stick to the engagement. It's free. It might hurt your thumbs. I know some stocks are 4 letters long. Some are even 5. And if you have to type out a 5-letter ticker, I am so sorry for your thumbs. But if you do even just that, it'll get we'll get you a one-pager out there and go over at least what we think about it. But if you're tired of my sarcasm, then we'll wrap it up. Anything else?
I'm good.
Awesome. All right, guys, do all the cool stuff. Definitely comment down below, and we will see you. Well, you'll see me Sunday, tomorrow. Video every day. Have a good one.
See you guys.